Kurt here from VidGamiac.com. Here we are today back in Cowabunga collection going for the G Tournament Champion achievement. This one is to beat the Genesis version of TMNT Tournament Fighters. Unfortunately, you can't use the watch trick to get this done. You have to play the game like normal. You're also going to have to adjust some options in order to get to the specific boss we need to beat at the end. So once you get to the title screen menu, which one you just want to make sure you head into options, you're going to have to crank the difficulty level all the way up to 8. That's going to be the topmost option. Thankfully, you can set the round count down to 1 to save yourself a little bit of time. Make sure you don't touch any of the other settings and then just back out to the title screen and then make sure you click on one player to start. We're going to go with April, who's going to be right here in the upper right, second one from the right on the topmost row. Make sure you crank her power level all the way up to 8, which should make things a lot easier. And then we're going to start up the game. The game is going to feature a level select. It shouldn't really matter what order you do the stages in, as long as you just get through it and then get all the way to the end. So the main strategy you want to use April, and you're going to mix it up between her jumping high kick as well as her sweeping kick, and then you also have her crouch and then spam the A button, which is going to be the equivalent of a 100 hand slap. You can also take advantage of the game's rewind feature, so hold left bumper if you do take any significant amount of damage, and you should be able to cheese every single opponent to death. Make sure you just stick to your typical fighting game and cheesing strategies the best you can, and always take advantage of that rewind whenever you can. And if you want to play it extra safe, after dealing a significant amount of damage to your opponent, you can always make sure you hit right bumper and save the game. That way, if you do get past your rewind window, you can always just back up your save. So this shouldn't be too difficult, but you are going to have to be a little patient with this one, as the entire run is going to be 11 fights. So this run is going to take quite a while, so hopefully you have some time set aside for this, but this is definitely going to be the easiest way of going about this. Thankfully, the one setting that we could change to make things easier in our favor is going to come in handy, which is going to be the 1-round fights, so make sure you do take advantage of that as well. Basically, this is going to be the game in a nutshell. Your first 7 fights are just going to be regular fights, which you do have access to the stage select for, so you can get these done in any order. Order shouldn't matter, but basically you're going to hop around from planet to planet, fighting a various smattering of the clone versions of all of the Turtles characters, as well as a smattering of random aliens. So just get through them the best you can. Again, the same strategy is going to work for each and every single one of them. There isn't going to be any one specific character that we need to adjust the strategy for, so just make sure you just use the same cheesing strategy for every single one of them and enjoy the change in background every single time as we make our trip across this galaxy. I am also going to recommend that you use the manual save between stages. That way, if you do accidentally miss your rewind field, you can always just back up to whatever save you made between levels. So we should always be making checkpoints for ourselves. So do take advantage of that as well, in addition to your normal saves that you make during the fights, as well as your rewinds. So the combination of both of those features should make getting through this super duper manageable. The only thing that's going to be a real hindrance is this is going to be quite a long game, especially if we are cheesing. But just make sure you keep getting through all of the normal enemies, and then once you clean up all of the planets, you're going to head over to the spaceship. This is going to be fight number 8, which is going to be the mirror match against your own clone. So pretty straightforward again. The strategy is going to work still, so just make sure you do take advantage of the cheese, and then make sure you take advantage of your 2 time manipulation features, the save and the rewind, and you should be able to take out your clone. You're going to get a cutscene where you take the spaceship over to the first of the 3 boss characters, who's going to be the Triceratops dude. Let that cutscene play out. It's going to move along a little slow, as all cutscenes do in this era of video games. But once you finally get to the fight, you're going to pretty much stick to the same strategy. Thankfully, the strategy is going to work on all of the bosses. The bosses aren't actually going to be super tough or anything. They might be a little more cheap than the regular enemies, but of course, there's nothing stopping us from being cheap back thanks to our time manipulation features. So make sure you just slowly whittle down the Triceratops dude, and that's going to take care of boss number 1. That's also going to take us over to the next cutscene, so make sure you let that play out. Back on the spaceship, and then we're going to head over to our fight with Krang and his android. So after the cutscene plays out, it's going to be all aboard to the Space Technodrome, and then we're going to fight normally the traditional last boss fight, which is going to be fight number 10. He is going to be a little cheap as he is going to shoot missiles out of his elbows, which is going to be a very cheap move. So try your best to get around those the best you can. But the strategy still is going to work, especially if you can pin him against the corner. That should take care of the scaled down version of Krang's android. And if you happen to have those settings set perfectly from earlier, you're going to unlock the hidden boss fight, which is going to be fight number 11 against Karai, who is going to be this woman. So just make sure you just get through this. You are going to take the spaceship back to this Japanese-esque planet, and then you're going to fight her on her outer space dojo, which is going to look strangely like a dojo on Earth. So just make sure you take her out. She is going to be pretty tough, but again, nothing beats our good old cheesing strategy. And on top of that, we're also going to have our super duper cheap rewind and saves to look forward to. So try your best to fumble your way around to a win over her, but if you can manage to pull it off, you should be good for the win. Just make sure you keep that pressure up, and then hopefully you can pin her against one of the two corners, and then you can just slap her to death. And then once you finally manage to pull that off, you should get your last few points, and then the cutscene that's going to give us the ending we are looking for this particular achievement. There it is. This one's going to be for 100 gamer score, and that's all there is to it.